You want to raise your credit limit, Mr. Washington? That's what the St. Regis Atlanta asked me at 10:47 on a Thursday night. My cousin had just blown $86,000 on a wedding he didn't invite me to, using a card I gave my daddy for steak and whiskey. I said, nah. Freeze it. Then I called my lawyer. Then I burned his whole damn life down. Let me back up about 30 seconds so you understand exactly how we got here. My name is Darius Washington. Folks call me Big D, partly because I'm 6'3" and partly because I'm the only one in my family who ever figured out how to make real money without selling weed or filing fake disability claims. I'm 38 years old, I pull down $120,000 a year managing code teams at a tech firm downtown, and I got exactly two people in this world I genuinely care about. My daddy, Earl Washington. And my best friend Marcus, who happens to be a lawyer and who happens to love suing people almost as much as he loves his mama's sweet potato pie. Everyone else in my family? They can take a number and wait in line. The phone rang at 10:47. I was still at my desk, third cup of coffee going cold, staring at a project timeline that should have been finished 3 days ago. The caller ID said St. Regis Atlanta. Now, I'd never stayed at the St. Regis in my life. But I knew the name. Fanciest hotel in Buckhead. Where celebrities stayed when they rolled through Atlanta. Where hedge fund managers took their mistresses for the weekend. I picked up anyway. Is this Darius Washington? The woman on the line had that polished, corporate-friendly voice. The kind of voice that charges you $50 just for breathing the lobby air. That's me. Sir, this is Mrs. Rhodes, Senior Accounts Manager at the St. Regis Atlanta. I'm calling regarding your Platinum Side card ending in 8866. My card. The one I'd given to Pop 6 months ago. Is there a problem? Not exactly a problem, sir. But we're processing a large transaction and the card's limit is being challenged. She paused, and I could hear her choosing her next words carefully. There's an outstanding pre-authorization for a wedding reception. 50 tables. Top-tier package. With the menu upgrades, the premium open bar, the floral arrangements, and the service charges, we're looking at $86,472. The card has hit its ceiling, and we need you to approve a temporary limit increase to complete the charge. I set my coffee down so slow that it didn't even make a sound. Run that back, I said. Sir? The wedding. Whose name is on the reservation? More clicking. A Mr. Tremaine Jefferson. He listed you as the cardholder and emergency contact. He said you're his cousin and that you authorized this card specifically for his wedding expenses. The bride is a Miss Keisha Aldridge. Lovely couple, I'm told. The Aldridge family is quite prominent here in Atlanta. Tremaine. My cousin. The same Tremaine who was supposed to be getting married in 3 days. The same Tremaine whose mama, my Auntie Cherise, had been bragging at every Sunday dinner about this wedding being the event of the year. 50 tables. St. Regis. The Aldridge family, old money, big name, deacon at Greater Hope Baptist. And I wasn't invited. Let me repeat that. I was not invited. Not a phone call. Not a text. Not a raggedy postcard. Not even a, hey cuz, save the date. Nothing. Radio silence. Ghosted by my own blood. But my credit card? Oh, that got an invitation. That got a front row seat. That got the VIP treatment. Mr. Washington? Are you still there? Mrs. Rhodes' voice cut through my thoughts. I'm here. I leaned back in my chair. Mrs. Rhodes, can you do me a small favor? Of course, sir. Try to run a $1 test charge on that card right now. Just to make sure it's working. I heard her typing. Then a pause. Sir, the charge was declined. The system says the card has been frozen. That's right. I let the silence stretch for a beat. I froze it. About 15 seconds ago. Through my banking app. But sir, Mr. Jefferson's wedding will have to be paid for by Mr. Jefferson. I stood up and walked to my office window. Or his mama. Or his bride's daddy, since the Aldridges are so prominent. Because I sure as hell didn't authorize a single dime of that 86,000, and I didn't authorize my card to be used, and I definitely didn't authorize my name to be attached to a wedding I wasn't even invited to. Mrs. Rhodes was quiet for a long moment. When she spoke again, her voice had dropped about half an octave. Mr. Washington, may I speak candidly? Please. In my 15 years of doing this job, I've seen a lot of things. But a situation where the cardholder freezes his own card to stop a fraudulent charge, and the person committing the fraud is his own cousin who didn't even send him an invitation? She let out a low whistle. That's a new one. Even for Atlanta. Welcome to my family, Mrs. Rhodes. I'll tell you what, Mr. Washington. I'm going to send you a copy of the signed authorization form we have on file. The one Mr. Jefferson submitted. Her voice dropped even lower. Between you and me, I've been doing this long enough to know when a signature looks, let's say, creative. You might want to take a close look at it. Send it now. Already on its way to your email. I hung up and opened my laptop. The email was right there at the top of my inbox. Subject line, authorization form, Tremaine Jefferson, urgent. I opened the attachment. And there it was. A scanned PDF of a credit card authorization form. My name at the bottom. Darius Washington, in cursive, dated 3 months ago. Except I didn't sign it. I stared at that signature for a solid minute. The curve of the D was wrong. The way the W looped was too wide. The "ington" at the end trailed off in a way mine never did. My cousin had forged my signature. Not borrowed my card. Not, accidentally, used it. Not made a mistake. He sat down with a pen. He practiced my name. And then he signed it on a legal document. And he didn't even do a good job of it. I called Marcus. It rang twice before he picked up. Big D. Marcus sounded out of breath. Man, it's almost 11. This better be good. Tremaine used Pop's side card to book his wedding. 86,000. Forged my signature. I just froze the card. There was a pause. Then, run that back. I told him everything. The phone call from Mrs. Rhodes. The frozen card. The forged authorization. The fact that I wasn't invited to the wedding but my money was. When I finished, Marcus let out a long breath that crackled through the speaker. Darius. Listen to me very carefully. I'm about to put my lawyer hat on, not my friend hat. You understand? Go. What your cousin did is felony fraud. In the state of Georgia, anything over $10,000 is a felony. Forgery of a signature on a financial document? That's another felony. You're looking at charges that could put that boy away for 3 to 5 years. Minimum. 3 to 5 years. I let that sink in. You want me to be real with you? Marcus continued. 99% of people in your situation, they hem and haw. They talk about but he's family and blood is thicker than water, and all that other bullshit that lets people get away with treating you like a walking ATM. Then they end up paying the bill and hating themselves for the next 20 years. And the 1%? The 1% call me. And we burn it all down. I looked at my phone. There were already texts piling up. From Auntie Charisse. From Tremaine. From numbers I didn't recognize. The news was traveling fast. Marcus. Send me everything I need to file a police report. That's my boy. I could hear the grin in his voice. I'll have the paperwork ready by morning. But first, you need to talk to Pops. Before your auntie gets to him. He was right. I hung up and called my father. Earl Washington Sr. picked up on the fourth ring. His voice was groggy. Darius? What's wrong? It's late. Pops. You sitting down? I'm in bed, son. Then stay lying down. I took a breath. Remember that platinum card I gave you? The one I said you should use for stuff you want but won't buy yourself? The bourbon card. He chuckled sleepily. Yeah, I remember. Haven't used it yet. Been saving it for something special. Pops. I closed my eyes. The card got used. Just not by you. Silence. Auntie Charisse asked you about it, didn't she? She asked to borrow it for Tremaine's wedding. More silence. Then a heavy exhale. She came over 2 weeks ago. Said they needed a card on file at the hotel. Just for incidentals. Little stuff. She swore they'd pay it right back after the wedding. Said it was just for holding the reservation. His voice started to crack. I didn't want to cause no trouble between you and your auntie. You know how she gets. I thought it was just for show. Pops. They charged $86,000 to that card. What? 86,000. 50 tables. Top shelf everything. At the St. Regis. Oh, sweet Jesus. I heard him shift in bed, probably sitting up. Darius, I didn't. I never would've. I know, Pops. I know. 86,000. He said it like he was trying to understand a foreign language. That's more than my house cost. That's more than your mama's medical bills. That's fraud, is what it is. Tremaine forged my signature on the authorization form. I heard my father start to cry. Not the loud kind of crying. The quiet kind. The kind that comes from a man who spent his whole life trying to keep the peace and just realized the peace was never real in the first place. I'm sorry, son. I'm so sorry. I should have never. Pops, stop. I made my voice as gentle as I could. This ain't on you. Charisse came at you because she knew you'd say yes. Because you're a good man and she's been taking advantage of that for 40 years. But this ends now. Tonight. You understand? What are you gonna do? I already froze the card. Tomorrow morning, I'm filing a police report. Police? He whispered it like the word was a grenade. Darius, that's your family. No, Pops. Family doesn't steal from family. Family doesn't lie to family. Family doesn't use your good heart as a weapon against you. I paused. You remember what Mama used to say? He was quiet for a moment. Then, softly, be good to people, but don't let people mistake your goodness for weakness. That's right. I've been weak for a long time, Pops. We both have. But I'm done. Darius. His voice steadied. You do what you need to do. I got your back. Whatever happens. I love you, Pops. I love you too, son. And I'm proud of you. Your mama would be proud too. I hung up and sat there in my dark office, the glow of my laptop screen the only light. My phone buzzed again. This time I looked at it. 12 missed calls from Auntie Charisse. 8 from Tremaine. 5 from numbers I didn't recognize. And a text from an unknown number that just said, "Pick up the phone, you selfish piece of shit." I turned my phone face down. Then I opened my banking app. I scrolled through the recent transactions on the side card. The St. Regis charge was the big one, but it wasn't the only one. There was a charge from a high-end men's boutique in Buckhead, $7,800. Custom suit, probably. Another from a jeweler, $9,200. Diamond earrings for the bride, maybe? A charge from a cigar shop. From a limousine service. From a florist. Tremaine had been living his best life on my dime for 2 weeks. I screenshotted every single transaction. I saved the forged authorization form to 3 different places. I forwarded everything to Marcus. Then I opened my contacts and found a number I hadn't called in years. A reporter at the Atlanta Journal-Constitution who'd done a story on my tech firm a while back. A hungry reporter. The kind who loved a story about rich church folks and their dirty laundry. I didn't call her. Not yet. But I saved her number to my favorites. My phone buzzed one more time. A text, this time from Tremaine himself. Yo, cuz hotel said card got declined, what's going on, call me ASAP, this is important. I stared at that text for a long moment. Then I typed my response. You know my number. But you didn't know how to send me a wedding invitation. Interesting. I hit send. The response came back in under 10 seconds. All caps. Spelling errors. Pure panic. Don't do this, man, it's my wedding, you wanna ruin everything over some money? You make 6 figures, stop being cheap. I didn't reply. Instead, I forwarded the text to Marcus. His response was immediate, we'll keep going. The more he puts in writing, the easier my job gets. My phone started ringing again. Tremaine. I let it ring. Then it rang again. And again. And again. On the 6th attempt, I answered. What the hell is wrong with you? Tremaine's voice was a screech. I'm at the St. Regis right now trying to fix this and they're saying the card is frozen. Do you have any idea what you're doing? Keisha's parents are here. The Aldridges. Do you know who her daddy is? I know exactly who he is. Deacon Aldridge. Pillar of the community. Sits in the front pew every Sunday. Probably writes big checks to the building fund. I kept my voice calm. Funny thing, Tremaine. I bet Deacon Aldridge doesn't know his future son-in-law is a forger. Dead silence. See, here's what's gonna happen, I continued. That card stays frozen. The $86,000? That's your problem. The suit, the jewelry, the limo, the cigars, all of it. You're gonna pay back every dime. And if you don't, I'm pressing charges for felony fraud and forgery. You know what the sentencing guidelines are in Georgia? Marcus told me. 3 to 5 years. Minimum. You can't do that. His voice was shaking now. We're family. We're blood. Blood? I laughed, and it wasn't a nice laugh. Blood is when you show up for each other. Blood is when you invite your cousin to your wedding. Blood is when you don't steal $86,000 and then call the victim cheap. That ain't blood, Tremaine. That's just crime. You're gonna ruin my life over some damn money? No, Tremaine. You ruined your life over some damn money. I'm just the one who stopped paying for it. I hung up. The office was quiet. Outside, the Atlanta skyline glittered. Somewhere out there, in Buckhead, my cousin was probably hyperventilating in the St. Regis lobby while his fiancée's wealthy parents looked on in confusion. Somewhere out there, my Auntie Cherise was working her phone, trying to spin this story before I could tell it. Somewhere out there, my father was lying in bed, staring at the ceiling, wondering how his family had come to this. And somewhere out there, Marcus was drafting a police report. I opened my email. Mrs. Rhodes from the St. Regis had sent me another message. This time, it wasn't just the forged authorization form. It was a complete itemized breakdown of every charge Tremaine had tried to make. 50 pages. Every table setting. Every floral arrangement. Every bottle of Dom Perignon he'd ordered for the toast. At the bottom of the email, Mrs. Rhodes had added a personal note. Mr. Washington, I've been in hospitality for 2 decades. I've seen bridezillas, groomzillas, mother of the bridezillas. But I've never seen a man bold enough to spend $86,000 of someone else's money and then not invite them to the party. Whatever you decide to do next, I hope you don't hold back. C. Rhodes. I smiled for the first time all night. I pulled up the forged authorization form again. Zoomed in on my supposed signature. The mangled D. The too wide W. The trailing inkton that looked like a child wrote it. Then I opened a new email. To Marcus. Subject line, let's go. Body, I want to file the report first thing tomorrow morning. And after that, I want to sue him in civil court. For the full amount. Plus damages. Plus legal fees. Plus emotional distress. I want him to feel every single dollar he tried to steal from me. Marcus replied within 60 seconds, my man. I'll have the paperwork ready by 8 a.m. Get some sleep. Tomorrow's gonna be a long day. I didn't sleep. I sat in my office until the sun came up, looking at that forged signature, looking at those charges, looking at my father's name on the account. Tremaine thought he was the smartest guy in the family. Auntie Cherise thought she could sweet-talk her way out of anything. They both thought I was still the same doormat who'd been letting them walk all over me since Mama died. They were about to learn different. At 7:30 a.m., I showered, changed into my best suit, and drove to Marcus's office. At 8 a.m. sharp, we walked into the Fulton County Police Department together. At 8:47 a.m., the report was filed. Case number, officer name, the works. Felony fraud. Felony forgery. Grand theft. As we walked out, Marcus clapped me on the shoulder. How you feeling? Like I should have done this 10 years ago. That's what they all say. He checked his phone. Oh, this is good. Your Auntie Cherise just posted on Facebook. Pray for my son. The devil is working through someone close to us. Lord, protect Tremaine from jealous spirits. She called me the devil? She called you a jealous spirit. Which I think is a promotion from just regular devil. I laughed. Actually laughed. The first real laugh I'd had in what felt like years. You know what's gonna happen next, right? Marcus said. She's gonna go to church on Sunday and try to turn the whole congregation against you. Greater Hope Baptist is her turf. Let her try. And the Aldridges? Deacon Aldridge isn't just some random rich guy. He's connected. Politically connected. He's not gonna like his daughter's wedding turning into a police investigation. I'm counting on it. Marcus raised an eyebrow. You got a plan, or you just winging it? I pulled out my phone and showed him the screenshots. Every transaction. The forged signature. The texts from Tremaine calling me cheap for not wanting to pay $86,000. The truth is my plan, I said. And I'm about to make sure everybody hears it. How everybody? I opened my contacts and hovered over the name of that reporter from the AJC. Let's just say Sunday service at Greater Hope is gonna be real interesting this week. Marcus stared at me for a second. Then he broke into the biggest grin I'd ever seen on his face. Big D. You're about to start a war, ain't you? I looked at my phone. 37 missed calls from Auntie Cherise. 22 from Tremaine. 9 from numbers I didn't recognize. A voicemail from somebody who sounded like Deacon Aldridge's assistant, asking for a private conversation to clear up any misunderstandings. Nah, I said. I'm not starting a war. I'm ending one. I put my phone in my pocket. Now take me to breakfast. I'm hungry. Sunday morning at Greater Hope Baptist Church started like every other Sunday morning. Hymns. Handshakes. Hypocrisy. But this Sunday was gonna end different. Because I was sitting in the back pew with a Bluetooth speaker in my jacket pocket and a recording that was about to bring the whole damn house down. Let me tell you what happened between the police station and that pew. After Marcus bought me breakfast at Waffle House, scattered, smothered, and covered, because I wasn't about to let a little felony fraud ruin my appetite, I drove over to Pop's house. He lived in a little brick ranch over in Cascade Heights, the same house I grew up in. The same house where Mama took her last breath in the living room, hooked up to a hospice bed because she said she wanted to die at home, not in some cold hospital room. Pops was sitting on the front porch when I pulled up. Rocking chair. Cup of coffee going cold in his hand. He looked like he hadn't slept. Hey, son. He didn't get up. Just kept rocking. I sat down in the chair next to him. The one that used to be Mama's. The cushion still had a dip in it from where she always sat. You eat? I asked. Not hungry. Pops. I said I'm not hungry, Darius. We sat there in silence for a while. The neighborhood was quiet. Somebody's dog barking a few houses down. A lawnmower starting up somewhere. I filed the report, I said finally. He nodded slowly. I figured you would. You mad? He stopped rocking. Turned to look at me. His eyes were red, but his jaw was set. I'm not mad at you, son. I'm mad at myself. I'm mad at Charisse. I'm mad at that boy Tremaine. I'm mad at a whole lot of people. But not you. Never you. I felt something loosen in my chest that I didn't even know was tight. Charisse called me 6 times last night, Pops continued. Left messages saying you're trying to destroy the family. Saying you're jealous of Tremaine because he's marrying into money. Saying you got a cold heart just like your daddy. She said, what about you? Pops waved his hand. Charisse been calling me cold since I refused to co-sign on that car loan for her back in '92. That woman could hold a grudge through the second coming. I laughed despite myself. The thing is, son. Pops leaned forward, elbows on his knees. I spent 40 years trying to keep peace with my sister. You know why? Because when Mama died, your Grandma Washington, she made me promise. She said, Earl, you the oldest. You gotta hold this family together. So I held it. I held it when Charisse stole my inheritance money. I held it when she spread lies about your mama at the family reunion. I held it when she called you slow because you didn't talk until you were 3. I hadn't known about that last one. But you know what I realized last night? Pops looked at me. I wasn't holding the family together. I was just holding my mouth shut. And letting Charisse run wild. That ain't peace. That's just quiet. He reached over and put his hand on my arm. His grip was stronger than I expected. You do what you gotta do. Don't worry about me. Don't worry about the family. Don't worry about what the church folks say. You hear me? I hear you, Pops. Good. He leaned back in his chair. Now go in the kitchen and make me some eggs. I'm hungry. I made him scrambled eggs with cheese, the way Mama used to. We ate together at the kitchen table. We didn't talk much. Didn't need to. Later that day, my phone buzzed with a text from a number I didn't recognize. The message was formal, almost stiff. Mr. Washington. This is David Chen, personal assistant to Deacon Harold Aldridge. Mr. Aldridge requests the honor of your presence at his home this evening at 6 p.m. to discuss the unfortunate situation involving your cousin Tremaine and his daughter Keisha. Please confirm your availability at your earliest convenience. Deacon Aldridge wanted to talk. I forwarded the text to Marcus. He called me back in 30 seconds. You going? Hell yeah, I'm going. Good. Wear the navy suit. The expensive one. And don't say a damn thing until I get there. I'm coming with you. You think I need a lawyer? I think you need a witness. And I think Deacon Aldridge needs to know you're not some broke cousin he can intimidate with his big house and his big name. Marcus had a point. At 5:45 p.m., we pulled up to the Aldridge estate in Sandy Springs. And I'm not using the word estate loosely. This place was a compound. Wrought iron gates. Circular driveway with a fountain in the middle. The house itself was one of those southern mansions that looked like it had been there since the Civil War but was probably built in 2005. White columns. Gas lanterns. A 3-car garage that was bigger than my first apartment. Let me do most of the talking, Marcus said as we walked up to the front door. You always do. That's because I'm better at it. The door opened before we even knocked. A young Asian guy in a blazer, David Chen, I assumed, ushered us into a grand foyer with a chandelier that probably cost more than my car. Then into a study lined with leather-bound books that I was 90% sure nobody had ever actually read. And there, behind a mahogany desk the size of a small boat, sat Deacon Harold Aldridge. He was maybe 60, built like a retired linebacker, with a salt and pepper beard trimmed so precise it looked like it had been applied with a ruler. He didn't get up when we walked in. Just gestured to 2 chairs facing his desk. Mr. Washington. Mr. He looked at Marcus. Marcus Holloway. Attorney at law. Deacon Aldridge's expression flickered. Just for a second. Then it was back to the smooth, practiced calm of a man who'd spent decades negotiating deals and managing egos. An attorney. I see. He folded his hands on the desk. I was hoping we could handle this matter privately. Among family. I'm not family, Marcus said cheerfully. I'm just here to make sure my client doesn't get steamrolled. There was a long, uncomfortable silence. Then the study door opened, and Keisha Aldridge walked in. She was stunning. There was no denying that. Tall, brown-skinned, with cheekbones that could cut glass and hair that cascaded down her shoulders in perfect waves. She was wearing a simple cream dress that probably cost $2,000 and she looked like she'd been crying. Daddy, is this him? She looked at me. Is this Tremaine's cousin? Keisha, I asked you to wait upstairs. I'm not a child, Daddy. She walked over and stood beside her father's desk, arms crossed. I want to hear what he has to say. Tremaine told me his cousin is crazy. Jealous. That he's been trying to sabotage us since we got engaged. I didn't say anything. I just pulled out my phone. Miss Aldridge, I said. My name is Darius Washington. And before we go any further, I want you to hear something. I pressed play. Tremaine's voice filled the room. You make 6 figures. Stop being cheap. Then my voice. You didn't invite me to your wedding. But you used my card to pay for it. Then Tremaine, louder now, almost shouting. Because you would have made it weird. You're always so damn serious about everything. It's just money, Darius. And the signature? The authorization form? A pause. Then Tremaine's voice, defiant, man, I did what I had to do. You think I was gonna let some paperwork stop me from giving my woman the wedding she deserves? You'll get your money back. After the wedding. Once we get the cash gifts. I stopped the recording. The silence in that study was so thick you could have spread it on toast. Keisha Aldridge had gone very, very still. That was recorded last night, I said quietly. After I froze the card. He called me 6 times. I answered on the 6th. He said everything I just played. Including the part where he admits to forging my signature. Deacon Aldridge's expression hadn't changed. But his knuckles, where they gripped the edge of his desk, had gone white. Is there more? Keisha's voice was barely a whisper. I pulled up the authorization form on my phone. This is the document he submitted to the St. Regis. See the signature? That's supposed to be mine. It's not. I have a handwriting expert who's willing to testify to that effect. I pulled up the itemized charges. And these are all the things your fiancé tried to charge to my card. The reception, yes. But also a custom suit from a boutique in Buckhead. Diamond earrings from a jeweler in Midtown. A limousine. Cigars. Flowers. I looked at Keisha. I'm not trying to hurt you, Miss Aldridge. I don't even know you. But the man you're about to marry committed felony fraud and felony forgery against his own family. And when I caught him, he called me cheap. Keisha turned to her father. Daddy. Deacon Aldridge held up his hand. I heard the recording, baby girl. His voice was calm, but there was a vein pulsing in his temple. Mr. Washington. What exactly do you want? I want my money back. All of it. Every dime he charged. That can be arranged. And I want him to face what he did. Meaning? Meaning the police report is already filed. The charges are already pending. I'm not dropping them. Deacon Aldridge leaned back in his chair. He studied me for a long moment, like he was reassessing something. You know, Mr. Washington, when Tremaine first started courting my daughter, I had my concerns. He was charming. Very charming. But I've been in business long enough to know that charm without character is just manipulation with a smile. I let myself be convinced otherwise. He looked at Keisha. We both did. Daddy, I didn't know. I didn't know any of this. I know, sweetheart. That's what bothers me the most. He stood up and walked to the window. I'm going to be very honest with you, Mr. Washington. The Aldridge name means something in this city. It means something in the church. The idea of my daughter's wedding becoming a police matter. I understand your position, Deacon Aldridge, I said. But here's the thing. I didn't make this a police matter. Tremaine did. The moment he put pen to paper and forged my signature. What if I told you I could make this go away? Quietly. The money returned. The wedding cancelled. No press. No scandal. I'd say you're trying to protect your family. I respect that. But I spent my whole life protecting my family from people like my cousin. And I'm done. Another long silence. Then Keisha did something I didn't expect. She walked around the desk, stood in front of me, and looked me straight in the eye. Thank you, she said. Excuse me? Thank you for showing me who he really is. Before I walked down that aisle. Her voice was steady, but her eyes were wet. I almost married a man who steals from his own family and feels no shame about it. If you hadn't frozen that card, I would have found out too late. Miss Aldridge. Keisha. Keisha. I nodded. For what it's worth, I'm sorry. Nobody deserves this. She smiled. It was a sad smile, but it was real. You know what the sad part is? I knew. Somewhere deep down, I knew. The way he talked about his family. The way he always had a reason why somebody else was to blame for his problems. The way he flexed with money I knew he didn't have. She shook her head. Love makes you stupid. Tell me about it. She laughed. Actually laughed. Then she turned to her father. Daddy, cancel the wedding. All of it. I'll deal with the embarrassment. Better embarrassed than married to a fraud. Deacon Aldridge closed his eyes for a long moment. When he opened them, he looked 10 years older. "All right. Mr. Washington, I won't interfere with your legal proceedings. And Miss Aldridge and I will deal with our end of this mess." As we were leaving, he added one more thing, "Mr. Washington. I've been on the board of the St. Regis Atlanta for 12 years. I know the owner, Alonzo King. He's a good man. A man who values integrity above all else." He paused. "If you ever need a reference, you let me know." I wasn't sure if that was a genuine offer or just Southern politeness. But I nodded and said, "Thank you, sir." The next day, Tremaine showed up at my office. I was walking to my car in the parking deck after work when I heard footsteps behind me. Fast footsteps. Angry footsteps. "Darius." I turned just in time to see Tremaine charging at me. He was a mess. Shirt untucked. Eyes wild. Looked like he hadn't slept in 3 days. "You ruined my life." He swung at me. I stepped to the side. He missed. Momentum carried him forward, and his expensive loafers slipped on the concrete. He stumbled. Tried to catch himself on a parked car. Missed that too. And went headfirst into a decorative hedge. The kind of hedge that looks soft on top but has branches underneath that are basically medieval weapons. Tremaine thrashed around in the bushes, cursing and spitting out leaves, while I stood there watching. "Are you done?" I asked. He scrambled to his feet. His face was scratched. A twig was stuck in his hair. One of his shirt buttons had popped off. "I'm gonna sue you. I'm gonna tell everybody what you did. You think you're so much better than everybody with your fancy job and your fancy car? You ain't nothing, Darius. You ain't never been nothing. Tremaine." I kept my voice calm. "You're on camera right now. This whole parking deck has security cameras. And you just tried to assault me. So you might want to think very carefully about what you do next." He looked around. Saw the cameras. His face went through about 6 different emotions in 3 seconds: rage, fear, calculation, more rage, despair, and finally something that looked almost like defeat. "You gonna call the cops again?" "I haven't decided yet. This is my life, man. Keisha left me. Her daddy won't take my calls. My mama is on her knees praying around the clock. The whole church thinks I'm a criminal. You are a criminal. I made a mistake. You committed 2 felonies and then tried to gaslight me into thinking I was the problem. That's not a mistake. That's a pattern." He just stood there, breathing hard. The twig was still in his hair. "Here's what's going to happen," I said. "You're going to leave. You're not going to call me. You're not going to text me. You're not going to show up at my job or my house or my daddy's house. You're going to let the legal process play out. And if you're very lucky, and you show some actual remorse, maybe, I'll consider a leniency request at sentencing. But that's up to the judge. Not me. Not anymore." I turned and walked to my car. "That's it," he yelled after me. "That's all you got to say?" I didn't turn around. I said everything that needed saying years ago. You just weren't listening. I got in my car and drove away. In my rearview mirror, Tremaine was still standing in the parking deck, covered in hedge debris, watching me go. That night, my phone started blowing up with notifications. Somebody had gotten the parking deck security footage. Posted it online. And the internet was having a field day. The video showed Tremaine charging at me. My sidestep. His stumble. The hedge. The thrashing. The twig. By midnight, it had 200,000 views. The hashtag #HedgeBoy was trending locally. Somebody edited it with circus music. Somebody else added cartoon sound effects. A local radio DJ played the audio on air and spent 10 minutes roasting Tremaine's life choices. Marcus texted me, "I'm not saying God exists, but if he does, he definitely has a sense of humor." I texted back, "That video is going to make my case harder or easier?" Easier. Way easier. Nothing says guilty conscience like trying to fight your victim in a parking deck. On Wednesday morning, I got a call from a number I didn't recognize. I almost let it go to voicemail, but something made me answer. Darius Washington speaking. "Mr. Washington. This is Alonzo King." I nearly dropped my phone. Alonzo King. Founder and CEO of King Hospitality Group. Owner of the St. Regis Atlanta. The Ritz-Carlton Buckhead. Half a dozen boutique hotels across the Southeast. A black billionaire who'd built his empire from a single motel in College Park. The man was a legend. A ghost. Nobody got him on the phone unless they were Fortune 500 CEOs or foreign dignitaries. "Mr. King, I managed. This is unexpected." He chuckled. It was a warm sound, surprisingly casual for a man worth more than some small countries. "I imagine it is. I heard about your situation from 2 different sources. Harold Aldridge called me. So did my accounts manager, Claudette Rhodes. Both of them said essentially the same thing: there's a man in Atlanta who froze his own credit card to stop his cousin from committing fraud, and then stood his ground when the whole world tried to make him back down." I don't know about the whole world. Mostly just my auntie and the church ladies. King laughed. I like that. Humor under pressure. You know how rare that is in business. Most people fold the second things get uncomfortable. You didn't fold. You didn't bend. You held the line. That's the kind of character I look for. Thank you, sir. But I'm not sure why you're telling me this. Because I'm about to launch a new brand. High-end wedding experiences. Not just venues, full service. Planning, design, coordination, the works. For clients who expect the absolute best and are willing to pay for it. I'm calling it Legacy. And I need someone to run the creative side. Someone who understands what a wedding is actually supposed to be about. Someone with integrity. I was silent. "Mr. Washington, I've done my homework on you. Project manager at a top tech firm. Handles million-dollar accounts. Manages teams. Delivers under pressure. But more importantly, you stood up to your own family when they tried to steal from you. You walked into Harold Aldridge's house and spoke truth with a lawyer and a recording. You didn't flinch. Do you know how many people would have just paid the $86,000 and hated themselves forever? Probably a lot. Almost everybody." King paused. "I want to offer you a position. Creative Director of Legacy Nuptials. Report directly to me. Build your own team. Set your own vision. Salary is negotiable, but I'll start the bidding at double whatever you're making now, plus equity. What do you say?" I opened my mouth. Closed it. Opened it again. "Mr. King, I don't have a background in weddings. You have a background in not letting people walk all over you. That's what I need. The wedding stuff? You'll learn. Or you'll hire people who already know it. I'm not hiring you for your floral arrangement skills. I'm hiring you for your spine." I thought about my cramped office at the tech firm. The projects I didn't care about. The bosses who looked at me and saw a diversity hire, not a leader. The years of keeping my head down and my mouth shut. "When do you need an answer?" "Take the weekend." But Darius, and here his voice shifted, became less CEO and more human, opportunities like this don't come around twice. You got a gift. Don't waste it trying to be comfortable. I hung up and sat there for a long time. Then I called Pops. "Alonzo King, Pops repeated slowly. The Alonzo King? The one who owns half of Buckhead? The same. And he wants you to run his wedding company? That's what he said. Pops was quiet for a second. Then he started laughing. Not a chuckle. A full, deep, belly laugh. The kind I hadn't heard from him since Mama was alive. What's so funny? I'm just thinking about your Auntie Cherise, Pop said, still laughing. She tried to steal $86,000 from you. And now you might end up making more money than her entire household combined. The Lord works in mysterious ways, son. Mysterious, hilarious ways. I started laughing too. Take the job, Pop said. What you got to lose? Nothing, I said. Not a damn thing. Sunday came. And that's how I ended up in the back pew of Greater Hope Baptist Church with a Bluetooth speaker in my jacket. The service started like always. The choir sang, Amazing Grace, and Sister Patterson hit a high note that could have shattered stained glass. The ushers passed the collection plate. Pastor Morris gave a sermon about forgiveness and redemption. I noticed he kept glancing at the Jefferson family pew, where Auntie Cherise was sitting with her head bowed, looking like a martyr in a big purple hat. And then came the prayer requests. Pastor Morris asked if anyone had a praise report or a prayer need to share with the congregation. Hands went up. People stood. Sister Williams asked for prayers for her grandson in Iraq. Brother Jackson praised God for his wife's cancer going into remission. It was all very beautiful and very routine. Then Auntie Cherise stood up. Pastor. Her voice trembled with practiced emotion. I need the church to pray for my son, Tremaine. He's going through a terrible ordeal right now. Somebody close to him, somebody in his own family, has turned against him. The devil has entered this person's heart and filled it with jealousy and spite. They've called the police on my boy. They've spread lies about him. They've ruined his engagement and his reputation. Pastor, I ask everybody here to pray for Tremaine. And to pray for the person who's persecuting him. Because that person needs deliverance. She sat down. People murmured. A few amens scattered through the pews. Pastor Morris cleared his throat. Thank you, Sister Jefferson. We will certainly lift Tremaine up in prayer. Now, is there anyone else? I stood up. Pastor. If I may. Every head in that church turned to look at me. I was in the back, so they all had to twist around in their seats. Auntie Cherise's face went through about 5 stages of panic in 2 seconds. Darius Washington, Pastor Morris said, clearly surprised. I didn't see you back there. You have something to share? I do, Pastor. I walked slowly down the center aisle. Sister Jefferson asked for prayers for her son. And I think before we pray, we should know exactly what we're praying about. Shouldn't we? I mean, how can we intercede if we don't understand the situation? Now, Darius. Pastor Morris started. I just want to share some facts, Pastor. That's all. Just facts. I pulled out my phone and connected it to the Bluetooth speaker. I'd tested it in the parking lot. Worked perfectly. This is a recording of a phone call I had with Tremaine Jefferson. Tremaine is Sister Jefferson's son. My cousin. Last Thursday night. After he charged $86,000 to a credit card that belongs to me, a card he was not authorized to use, for a wedding he did not invite me to. Gasps rippled through the congregation. I pressed play. Tremaine's voice boomed through the sanctuary. You make 6 figures. Stop being cheap. It's just money. You'll get your money back after the wedding, once we get the cash gifts. Then my voice. And the signature? The authorization form? Tremaine again. Man, I did what I had to do. You think I was gonna let some paperwork stop me from giving my woman the wedding she deserves? I stopped the recording. Silence. Absolute, total silence. You could hear Sister Patterson's fan creaking in the choir loft. "Pastor," I said, my voice carrying to every corner of that church, "I didn't come here to cause trouble. I came here because my name, my father's name, has been dragged through the mud by people who should have been our family. My daddy gave that card to Cherise because she told him it was just for incidentals. She lied. Tremaine spent $86,000. He forged my signature. When I caught him, he called me cheap. And when I filed a police report for felony fraud, they went on Facebook and called me the devil." I turned to face Auntie Cherise. She was frozen in her pew, her purple hat trembling. "I'm not the devil, Auntie. I'm just a man who finally learned to say no. And I'm asking this church, this community, to see the truth. Not the gossip. Not the Facebook posts. The truth. The truth is in that recording. The truth is in the police report. The truth is in the forged signature on the St. Regis authorization form. You all want to pray for somebody? Pray for my daddy, Earl. He spent 40 years trying to keep peace with a sister who never gave him anything but grief. He deserves your prayers. Not me. Not Tremaine. Earl Washington." I looked at Pastor Morris. "That's all I got to say, Pastor. Thank you for letting me speak." I walked back up the aisle, past rows of stunned faces, and out the front doors of Greater Hope Baptist Church. Behind me, the silence broke. Voices rose. Questions. Accusations. Somebody started crying. Somebody else started shouting. I didn't look back. On the church steps, my phone buzzed. "Marcus. How'd it go? They're gonna need a new prayer list." He howled with laughter. "My man. See you at the courthouse tomorrow?" "See you at the courthouse." I put my phone away and walked to my car. The sun was shining. The birds were singing. Somewhere behind me, the carefully constructed world of Cherise and Tremaine Jefferson was collapsing into rubble. And for the first time in 38 years, I didn't feel guilty about it. And 3 weeks later, I was sitting in a Fulton County courtroom wearing a $1,500 suit and watching my cousin Tremaine learn exactly how heavy the word felony really is. The gallery was packed. Pop sat in the front row, wearing the new blazer I'd bought him, his back straight as an ironing board. Marcus was beside me at the defense table, except we weren't the defense. We were the victims. The prosecution had asked us to sit up front. Said it made a statement. Auntie Cherise was 3 rows back, wedged between 2 church ladies who looked like they were only there for the tea. She'd stopped wearing the big purple hats. Stopped posting on Facebook too, after the church showdown went viral and the comments section turned into a roast session that lasted 4 days. Keisha Aldridge wasn't there. But her father was. Deacon Aldridge sat on the prosecution side, stone-faced, arms crossed. He'd made it very clear to the district attorney that the Aldridge family would not be paying for Tremaine's defense. Let him lie in the bed he made, was how he'd put it. The bailiff called the court to order. Judge Patricia Harmon, a black woman in her 60s with a reputation for taking exactly zero shit, swept in and took the bench. Case number 2024, CF 0892. State of Georgia vs. Tremaine Devin Jefferson. Charges: felony theft by deception, felony forgery in the first degree, and attempted assault. How does the defendant plead? Tremaine stood up. His public defender, a nervous-looking white guy who'd clearly drawn the short straw, nudged him. Guilty, Tremaine muttered. I'm sorry, Mr. Jefferson. I didn't hear you. Guilty, Your Honor. Louder this time. His voice cracked on the word. Judge Harmon peered at him over her glasses. Mr. Jefferson, you understand that by pleading guilty to these charges, you are admitting that you knowingly and intentionally used Mr. Washington's credit card without authorization, forged his signature on a legally binding document, and attempted to physically assault him in his place of employment? You understand that these are felonies that carry a potential sentence of 3 to 5 years in state prison? Tremaine's shoulders slumped. Yes, Your Honor. Very well. The court accepts the guilty plea. We will now proceed to sentencing. She turned to the prosecution. Does the state have any witnesses it wishes to call for the sentencing phase? The prosecutor, a sharp-jawed sister named Ada Janelle Brooks, stood up. The state calls Mr. Darius Washington. I walked to the witness stand. Swore on the Bible. Sat down. Ada Brooks approached. Mr. Washington, can you describe for the court the impact this crime has had on your life? I took a breath. I'd practiced this with Marcus a dozen times. But now, looking at Tremaine, looking at my cousin who I'd grown up with, played basketball with, whose mama used to braid my hair when I was little, the words felt different. Your Honor, I began, Tremaine Jefferson is my cousin. We grew up together. His mama, Charisse, is my daddy's sister. For most of my life, I considered them close family. I paused. But family isn't just blood. Family is how you treat people. And for years, Tremaine and his mother treated me and my father like ATMs. Borrowing money that never got paid back. Making promises that were never kept. Talking down to us because we weren't as flashy, weren't as loud, didn't flex the way they did. I looked at Tremaine. He wouldn't meet my eyes. When Tremaine took that card, a card I gave my father so he could buy himself small pleasures in his retirement, and used it to book an $86,000 wedding without my knowledge or consent, he wasn't just stealing money. He was stealing my trust. He was stealing my father's dignity. He was telling me, with every forged signature and every lie, that I didn't matter. That my hard work didn't matter. That my only value was what he could take from me. Ada Brooks nodded. And how has this affected your relationship with your extended family? My relationship with my aunt and cousin is over. That part of my family is dead to me. And honestly, it's a relief. Because for the first time in my adult life, I'm not waiting for the next phone call asking for money. I'm not dreading Sunday dinners where I'll be guilt-tripped into writing another check. I'm free. Thank you, Mr. Washington. No further questions. Judge Harmon turned to the defense. Does counsel wish to cross-examine? The public defender stood up, looked at me, looked at the evidence table stacked with printed screenshots and bank statements, and sat back down. No, Your Honor. Mr. Washington, you may step down. But before you do, Judge Harmon leaned forward. The court would like to know, what sentence do you believe would be appropriate in this case? The whole courtroom went still. I'd told Marcus I was going to ask for the maximum. 5 years. Throw the book at him. Make an example. But standing there, looking at my cousin, who was 25 years old, who'd been raised by a mother who taught him that the rules didn't apply to him, who'd never faced a single real consequence in his entire life, something shifted. Your Honor, I said slowly. I don't want Tremaine to go to prison. Gasps from the gallery. I heard Auntie Charisse suck in her breath. Ada Brooks blinked in surprise. Prison doesn't make people better. It just makes them harder. Smarter criminals, maybe, but not better men. And despite everything, I don't want my cousin to come out of a cell in 5 years more broken than he already is. I turned to face Tremaine directly. His eyes were wide, wet, shocked. But I don't want him to walk away either. He needs to understand that actions have consequences. Real consequences. So here's what I'm asking for, Your Honor. I looked back at the judge. Give him probation. 5 years supervised probation. 300 hours of community service. And mandatory financial literacy classes. He needs to learn what a dollar actually costs. Not what it buys, what it costs. In sweat. In time. In integrity. I paused. And I want him to repay every cent. Not to me, I've already been made whole. I want him to donate the equivalent of what he tried to steal, $86,000, to a financial education program for low-income families. If he can't pay it in cash, he can pay it in community service hours. Let him work off his debt to his own conscience. The courtroom was silent. Judge Harmon stared at me for a long moment. Then she did something I'd never seen a judge do before. She smiled. "Mr. Washington," she said quietly. "In 28 years on the bench, I have never heard a victim impact statement quite like that." She turned to Tremaine. "Mr. Jefferson, please stand." Tremaine stood. He was trembling. "You should be profoundly grateful to your cousin. Not because he asked for leniency, but because he asked for something harder. He asked for you to become a better man. Whether you take that opportunity or waste it is entirely up to you." She reviewed her notes, then spoke firmly. "I hereby sentence you to 5 years of supervised probation. You will complete 300 hours of community service. You will attend and complete a state-certified financial literacy program. And you will contribute $86,000, either in direct payment or in documented volunteer hours at a rate of $15 per hour, to the Atlanta Financial Empowerment Center within the next 36 months. Failure to meet any of these conditions will result in the immediate revocation of your probation and the imposition of the original prison sentence. Do you understand?" Tremaine nodded, tears streaming down his face. "Yes, Your Honor. I understand." "Then this court is adjourned." The gavel came down. Just like that, it was over. Outside the courtroom, Marcus grabbed me in a bear hug. "You soft-hearted son of a gun. You know that was better than any prison sentence, right? He's got 5 years of looking over his shoulder. And that $86,000 requirement? He's gonna be working that off until he's 40. Genius." I meant what I said. I don't want him in prison. I just want him to learn. And that's why you're better than me." Marcus laughed. I would have asked for the electric chair. Pops walked up, leaning on his cane. He didn't say anything. Just pulled me into a hug and held on for a long time. "Your mama," he finally whispered. "She'd be so proud of you, son." "Thanks, Pops. I'm proud of you too." Those 4 words. 4 words I'd been waiting 38 years to hear. I hugged my father on the courthouse steps while the Atlanta sun beat down on us, and I didn't care who saw. 2 weeks later, I was standing in a corner office on the 23rd floor of the King Tower in Buckhead. The view was ridiculous. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the entire Atlanta skyline. You could see Stone Mountain on a clear day. The office still smelled like fresh paint and new carpet. My name was already on the door, Darius Washington, Creative Director, Legacy Nuptials. Knock knock. I turned. Alonzo King was standing in my doorway, holding 2 glasses and a bottle of Pappy Van Winkle. "Mr. King. You didn't have to. Call me Lonzo." And yes, I did. You don't start a new chapter without a toast. He poured 2 fingers of bourbon into each glass and handed me one. "How's the team coming together?" "I've hired 6 people so far. Marcus is handling all our contracts. Pops is my unofficial office decorator." I gestured at a framed photo on my desk, a black and white picture of my mother, young and laughing, that Pops had insisted I bring. "And Mrs. Rhodes from the St. Regis has agreed to be our head of operations, assuming you sign off on the transfer." King raised his eyebrows. "Claudette Rhodes? The woman who sent you that email?" "The same. She said, and I quote, Any company that hires a man who freezes his own card to stop fraud is a company I want to work for. King laughed. Done. She's yours. Anyone else? I hesitated. There is one more person I'm thinking about. Who? Deacon Aldridge's daughter. Keisha. King set down his glass. The ex-fiancée? She's been through hell. Her wedding imploded in front of the entire city. She's been hiding in her daddy's house for a month. But she's smart, she's got an MBA from Spelman and she knows the high-end event world better than anyone I've met. She reached out to me last week. Said she wants to work somewhere that values integrity. I shrugged. I know it's unconventional. King was quiet for a moment. Then he picked up his glass again. You know what I've learned in 40 years of business, Darius? The best teams are built by people who've been through the fire and came out the other side. If Keisha Aldridge can survive what she survived and still want to build something beautiful, that's exactly the kind of person legacy needs. He clinked his glass against mine. To new beginnings. To new beginnings. We drank. The bourbon was smooth as silk. That night, I went to Pop's house for dinner. He'd made ribs. His secret recipe, the one Mama had taught him before she passed. The one he only made for special occasions. What's the occasion? I asked, washing my hands at the kitchen sink. My son just became a creative director at a company owned by a billionaire. That ain't occasion enough for you? We ate on the back porch, watching the sun go down. The ribs were perfect. The greens were seasoned just right. The mac and cheese had that crispy top layer that only Pops knew how to get. Pops. Can I ask you something? Go ahead. Back when Mama was sick. When the medical bills were piling up and Auntie Cherise had just borrowed that $5,000 and never paid it back. How did you not lose your mind? Pops chewed on a rib for a minute. Then he set it down and wiped his hands on a napkin. You remember what your mama said to you, that last week in the hospice bed? I nodded. She said, be good to people, but don't let people mistake your goodness for weakness. That's right. But she said something else too. Something she said to me, not to you. He looked out at the darkening sky. She said, Earl, you've been trying to hold this family together with your bare hands for 40 years. When I'm gone, you let go. You focus on our boy. You make sure he knows his worth. The rest of them? They'll figure it out or they won't. Either way, it ain't your burden no more. I swallowed hard. And did you? Let go? He smiled. Took me a while. But I'm working on it. He raised his glass of sweet tea. Tonight's a good start. We clinked glasses. My phone buzzed. I glanced at it. A text from a number I hadn't seen in a long time. Hey Darius. It's Tasha. I saw the article about you in the AJC. Congratulations on the new job. I always knew you'd make it big. Maybe we could catch up sometime? Coffee? Tasha. My ex-fiancée. The one who left me for a baller who turned out to be a construction worker with a leased BMW and a gambling problem. The one who told me I'd never be more than average. I stared at the text for a solid 30 seconds. Then I typed my response. Tasha. You traded a diamond for a cubic zirconia. The store is permanently closed. Lose my number. I hit send. Then I blocked her number. Pops raised an eyebrow. Who was that? Nobody. Didn't look like nobody. It was Tasha. Pops snorted. What she want? Coffee. Tell her to buy her own damn coffee. I laughed so hard I nearly choked on my rib. 3 months later, Legacy Nuptials had its first official client. Her name was Jade Robinson. 29 years old. Pediatric nurse at Children's Healthcare of Atlanta. Engaged to a high school history teacher named Marcus Webb, no relation to my Marcus, though they got along famously when they met. Their budget was modest. $25,000. A fraction of what the St. Regis charged for Tremaine's would-be disaster. But Jade had been following my story. She'd seen the church video. She'd read the AJC article. And when she walked into our office, she said, "I don't want a fancy wedding. I want a real one. I want my guests to leave feeling like they actually witnessed something sacred." We gave her exactly that. The ceremony was at the Atlanta Botanical Garden. The reception was in a converted warehouse in West Midtown that we transformed with string lights and hanging greenery. Keisha handled the flowers. She'd turned out to be a genius with arrangements. Mrs. Rhodes ran the logistics like a military operation. Marcus made sure every contract was airtight. And I stood in the back during the ceremony, watching Jade's father walk her down the aisle, watching Marcus Webb's face light up when he saw his bride, watching two ordinary people make an extraordinary promise to each other. I thought about Mama. About what she'd said about goodness and weakness. About what Pops had carried for 40 years. About Tremaine, who was now 3 months into his community service, working weekends at a food bank, slowly, very slowly, learning what $1 actually meant. About Auntie Cherise, who'd left Greater Hope Baptist for a smaller church across town after the scandal, and who I hadn't spoken to since the trial. About myself. About the man I used to be, the doormat, the ATM, the good cousin who'd let himself be drained dry. That man was gone now. Dead and buried. In his place was someone new. Someone who still had Mama's kindness. But who also had a spine. Someone who knew the difference between being good and being foolish. Jade and Marcus Webb said their vows. They exchanged rings. The officiant pronounced them married. The crowd cheered. Confetti flew. Champagne corks popped. And I stood there in my $1,500 suit, watching it all unfold, thinking about that phone call. That one phone call from Mrs. Rhodes at 10:47 on a Thursday night. The call that had changed everything. If she hadn't called. If I hadn't frozen the card. If I just paid the $86,000 like everyone expected me to. But I didn't. I froze the card. I said no. I chose myself. And everything that came after, the police report, the church showdown, the trial, the job offer from Alonzo King, this company, this office, this life, all of it flowed from that single decision. After the reception, after the last guest had gone home and the cleanup crew was breaking down the tables, I stood outside the venue and called Pops. How'd it go? Perfect. Absolutely perfect. I knew it would be. You got your mama's touch for this kind of thing. I smiled. Pops. You remember that night? When I called you after the hotel called me? Of course I remember. You told me to do what I had to do. You said you had my back no matter what. That's right. That's the moment everything changed for me. Not the phone call from the hotel. Not the police report. It was you. Telling me it was okay to stand up for myself. Pops was quiet for a long time. When he spoke, his voice was thick. I should have told you that a long time ago, son. You're telling me now. That's what matters. We talked for a few more minutes. Then I hung up and stood there in the warm Atlanta night, listening to the cicadas and the distant hum of traffic. My phone buzzed one more time. A notification. An email from an unknown sender. Subject line, I know you don't want to hear from me. Read this anyway. It was from Tremaine. I almost deleted it. Almost. But something stopped me. I opened it. Darius. I don't know if you'll read this. I wouldn't blame you if you didn't. But I needed to say this somewhere, and I can't say it in person yet. Maybe not ever. I was in the food bank today. We were sorting canned goods. And this old man came in. He looked like he'd been working his whole life and still couldn't afford to eat. And he was so grateful. So damn grateful for a bag of rice and some canned beans. And I thought about Uncle Earl. About how he must have felt when my mama took that card from him. About how I never even thought about his feelings at all. I've been thinking about that a lot. About how I never thought about anybody's feelings. Not yours. Not Uncle Earl's. Not even Keisha's, not really. All I thought about was what I wanted. What I deserved. What I was owed. I don't deserve your forgiveness. I know that. But I want you to know that I'm trying. I'm really trying. The classes are helping. The community service is helping. I'm not the same person I was 6 months ago. I don't know if I'll ever be someone you can be proud of. But I want to try. Anyway. I just wanted to say thank you. For not sending me to prison. For making me work it off instead. I hated you for it at first. Now I think it was the best thing anyone's ever done for me. I hope you're doing well. I see legacy nuptials all over Instagram. It looks incredible. You always were the smart one. Tremaine. I read it twice. 3 times. Then I looked up at the night sky. Somewhere up there, I imagined Mama smiling. I didn't reply to the email. Not yet. Maybe not ever. But I didn't delete it either. Some bridges take longer to build than others. Some fires burn longer than you expect. But here's the thing I've learned, the thing I'd tell anyone who spent their whole life being a doormat, being an ATM, being the good one in a family full of takers. It's never too late to freeze the card. It's never too late to say no. It's never too late to choose yourself. And when you do? When you finally draw that line in the sand and say, this far, no further? That's when the real story begins. My name is Darius Big D Washington. I make good money. I build beautiful weddings. I take care of my father. And if you ever try to use my credit card without my permission, I'll freeze it. Then I'll burn your whole damn life down. And I won't lose a single minute of sleep. OT even a little bit.